I'm so glad you're here. This is the last session that we're going to do today, and I'm super excited because I'm doing it with Jacqueline Snyder, who is the product boss. And so we have something a little exciting for you today. We're going to have a little bit of a fireside chat, and one thing about Jacqueline you should know is that she is an incredible teacher as well. She has an academy. I'll let her do more justice to her bio in a minute. But there's going to be a point in time where if you are interested in doing a laser coach, if you are feeling courageous and you're like, you know what, I want to get coached on my business right now in this moment, she's going to help you out with that. We call it laser coaching. So she's going to ask you a series of lightning questions, give you some advice, and I think that's going to be really fun. If not, we can continue in this vibe right here. I know sometimes being put on the spot can be a little scary, but if there's a brave soul that wants to get laser coached, I think all of us can learn from that. So that being said, I'll hop up in here with you. These guys know, like, I'm too short for these for these things, but oh yeah, you just gotta flip it up.
Hello, everyone.
Yes. So if I know this bio of yours is filled with all the good credibility, all the receipts. So I'm gonna let you do your thing and introduce yourself a bit, and then we'll get into questions.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So I'm Jacqueline Snyder, and I am the founder and host of The Product Boss and The Product Boss podcast. So anyone that listens to a podcast, please make sure to follow and subscribe, or they say follow these days. I've actually been in these halls, I think, since I was a little kid. My parents were in the fashion industry and in manufacturing, and then I actually came here for the magic show and magic sourcing, and I used to speak here in the fashion industry because that's actually my background. I'm a fashion designer, and I worked for bigger companies, and we showed here, and we had fashion shows here and all the things. That was about 20 years ago. And over the last 20 years, I've grown a company called Designer Consulting Co-op, where I've launched over 2,000 fashion brands, including one of my own, which was called Cuffs Couture, which we also sold here at Accessories The Show in the Convention Center. And that was something where I learned through building other people's businesses. People would come to me and say, hey, I have an idea. I want to make something, and I want to sell it. And I would help them conceive the idea, figure out their niche, their market, their target customer. I'd help them make and manufacture, and then also scale and grow from there. Well, cut to some years later, I now own the company fully, but I had met my business partner who had been making kids products and selling them on Amazon. And I had been doing it the traditional way, where I was manufacturing in LA or overseas, and we were coming to markets like these, and we were doing trade shows and selling wholesale. So that's when, back in 2017, we launched The Product Boss and The Product Boss podcast. We're a top 10 marketing podcast. Anywhere you listen, we're global. And now it's an education company, and we have a global community of people who make things and sell it. Because there's a lot of business podcasts out there that are speaking specifically to service-based companies, but who's talking to all of us that have to design and develop, produce, hold inventory, ship, deal with customer service, all the things that come with the beauty of product-based businesses. So I'm really excited to be here today.
Y'all see why y'all need to get coached by her? Do you understand what I'm saying? She comes with the receipts, she's walked the halls, she's done the thing, and she's continuing to do the thing. So this is really exciting that we have you here. So earlier today, we talked about, what it means to build your brand and understanding your value, understanding what your values are, and having shared values. So whether you're working with influencers or whether you're, using that tactic to grow your sales, I'm really curious about what personal strategies you've used, especially when you're selling products for your business. What worked the best for you when you think about all of the things that are out today? What's worked best?
Well, so like I said, I've been in this industry for 20 years, and when I started, I go, back in my day, we didn't have influencers. We had we had humans that influenced other people, and it was also the time of the celebrity, right? So when I was growing Cuffs Couture, we had people like Kim Kardashian and Carrie Underwood wear my products, and that was done more in a way of Kim discovered it in a store. I had publicists, and I had friends. I grew up in LA, and so I had friends that were in Hollywood. So that was the original influencer. I think as time has gone on, we are so lucky to be business owners today. We can access anybody, anywhere, at any time. right? We can speak here and reach, Tokyo right now. If I wanted to go on and sell them something, I could show up on social media and be like, hey, I've got this thing. And you could check out through, let's say, Instagram shops or TikTok shops. Again, back in my day, we used to have to leave like little mailers in coffee shops, and I used to have to come to these shows and have booths and things like that. And while I love this, because this is definitely what I love, I teach this method of, people call it omni-channel or multi-channel, and it's multi-channels. Like, we have a course called Multi-Stream Machine, which is multiple streams of revenue from different places and also multiple ways of getting visibility. So I think the thing that we have to think about is a lot of people now actually default to social media, and they're like, why is this thing not working, right? It's hard. Mark Zuckerberg does not want any of us to get organic followers. Yes, I call him that so I don't cry myself to sleep, because I spend like $1 million in ads a year on the Meta platforms. And if I were to turn them off, I would not grow organically. They don't want that to happen. They want us to spend money on ads. It makes it really hard. I think organic is happening in other ways. And I think that what you were saying, it's going to be multi-channel of marketing. So you're going to want to think about, I talk about paid, organic, and partnership. So if you have the budget for paid, and I know we're going to get into this, that's something. Organic is continuously to be consistent on a marketing channel that you decide to go all in on. It could be Instagram, it could be TikTok, it could be Pinterest, it could be that you show up to trade shows and you're getting foot traffic. And then there's also partnership, and partnership would also be something where you're doing co-brands or you're working with influencers, creators. The creator economy is huge. So I think it's always going to be a mix. And it's proven it, because anyone realized that Meta went down last week? People freaked out. They're like, what do we do? We can't go on our phone. And this is the second time now in my community I've told them you need an email list, right? Because you can email your customers. So you want this idea of multi-channel marketing and multi-channel for sales.
Did y'all catch that? Because she was dropping the gems, okay? So let's say, you're a small business. You may have a little change for paid ads. But for the most part, you're kind of like boots on ground. You're just trying to get it done, right? You're hustling. What would you say to someone who is like, listen, I don't want to do social. Like, I just want to sell my stuff, not be a creator, not pay creators. I just want to do what happened to that? What would you say to that? What would you say to that person?
I'd say it's totally possible. And this is actually something that I teach my students. And if you listen to the podcast, we talk about organic marketing, because when it comes to product, to run ads, I'm a service business now. So $1 million in ads a year, my profitability is so much greater than any of us that have products. It's like raw goods, cost of inventory, it's dollars sitting on the shelves. So I have a student right now, and she has 1,500 followers, and she has a business that's making 7 figures. So anyone want to guess how much this 1,500 follower company is making a year? She has 3 employees. She just had a baby. She makes lingerie and menswear. She's making $25 million a year in revenue. Yeah.
You're like,
It's
with an M?
With an M, 25 million. And last I checked, it was 12, then I thought it was 18, and then she goes, no, it's 25. I was like, okay, that's amazing.
With lingerie and men's.
And it's 1,500 followers. I have another student, I think I'm still her 24th follower, because she's abandoned Instagram. We taught her how to get one product. Her company's called Static Block. It's hairspray that prevents static in your hair. And she used the structure that I teach, and she got onto Amazon with one product. It's a bestseller. We don't need to make all the things. I know we go to these booths and there's a lot of stuff, but you want to be known for something, a core product. So she learned that from me. She got it on Amazon, 24 followers. She hit $200,000 in sales on one product on Amazon in her first year, left her full-time job, and is now a full-time product boss, right? So it's all possible. If you like the creator economy, if you like creating content, if you like the hits that you get from social, you can do that. But what I love to teach people is, where can you sell that you can also get eyeballs? So Amazon has eyeballs. Wholesale, when you're selling to other retailers, that's how Kim Kardashian discovered my products, right? She walked into a store like a normal person and saw something and discovered it. Wholesale, in-person markets, whether they're trade shows, you're doing a farmer's market or an art fair. Let's see, what else do I teach? And then your own website, which does require, when you do e-commerce, it does require you to drive your own traffic, and that gets a little bit more difficult, but but we cannot build on borrowed land. So when you own your own website and you have your own email list, that's yours. So if Meta crashes, Etsy kicks you off the platform, all of a sudden there's a global pandemic and things just aren't working the way they are. If you have your own website and you have an email list, you're good to go.
Ooh, I love that. And how many of you guys have your own email list? How many of you guys use said email list? I know Grass-Fed does. I know you do, 5,000 strong and kicking. If Grass-Fed Beef has an email list, the 5,000 strong, y'all have no excuses.
My husband's probably on it.
Yeah. James is on it. This is awesome. Okay, so not only do you have to have the email list, you have to do the work to nurture that email list, right?
Yes.
Now, have you seen somebody who has had all the makings of this is going to be a hit and then tumble?
Sure, me too.
And then what was your fail story? What was the thing you're like, this is gonna be great, and then it was like, actually?
Well, it's actually funny. So in my consulting business, because since 2007, that's where I've launched the 2000 fashion brands, right? Because my background is in fashion design. And this woman walks in one day and she brings in this bra. Speaking of lingerie, there's a lot of lingerie stories because that actually is my background of who I used to work for. So she brings in this bra and she's like, I want to knock this bra off. She's like, I love it. I love the fit. I love the fabric. She shows it to me and I'm like, oh my God, by the way, my name is Jacqueline and it's the Jacqueline bra that I designed at the big company I used to work at a few years before.
That's hilarious.
I started my own business.
Like,
and I was like, oh, I'm going to knock myself off. This is awesome. And she had this idea. She called the company Sleeping Beauties. And she had this idea that you should wear a bra at night to prevent the ladies from sagging, right? That was the whole concept of her company. So I was like, all right, let's do it. She spent a lot of money making the product. She decided that SEO was the thing that she needed to spend all her money on. So she hired some big tech guy that spent 10 grand on that. We spent like 20,000 on production, 10,000 on building her e-commerce site. She was out of business in 3 months. And it was my bra, right? It was like the thing that I made that we sold thousands of units at the other company. The reason why was that there was nobody that knew. It's like if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound? If any of you launch a business and no one knows it exists, like, do you make a sale? So she didn't create, I would have taken her money and said, but listen, she was doing her own thing. I was there to design and produce. So she launched this thing and said there was a problem in the market, but she didn't create the problem in the market. None of us knew, we need to be wearing bras at night, right? That was a concept that she had studied and decided. If it were me, I would have taken those marketing dollars. Now we have social. She didn't have social at the point. I would have spent it on press. I would have done articles. I would have had people talking about it. So you need to create a need, a want or desire in the market, or you have to solve a problem. And so you have no idea. I've made some crazy things for people. I've made Orthodox, like Mormon or Jewish swimwear for women that like covers head to toe. Some guy had this idea of a full bodysuit for a dog that he could wash his dog inside. I've done lingerie, I've done activewear, I've done men's swimwear, I've done everything, but I've made some really weird things too. Travel scarves, all this stuff. You can literally sell anything. Walk around to these booths. There's a customer for everything. You just have to meet a need, want, desire, or solve a problem in the market, and people have to know you exist. And I think that's the biggest thing that we all have to land on, and then, you can sell anything.
Every time I talk to Jacqueline, I think about what is a product I can just start selling. Like my mind just starts flying.
My team says the same thing when I'm talking. They're like, what should we start? And I was like, just keep working for me. Don't worry about it.
I completely get that.
Yeah.
I'm going to remind you guys, so if you're brave enough, Jacqueline is down to do some laser coaching. So you can sit in the hot seat and she'll ask you some questions. You can tell her your big pain point and she can give you some advice on that. And we could probably do like a couple rounds of that. So if you're curious, brave enough, I think that'd be a good idea for you guys. So we're gonna ask some more questions, and then I'm gonna see who's down for the cause. So when we talked a lot about social today, and you mentioned this earlier, but one of the sort of platforms that I don't hear enough about, in my opinion, is Pinterest. Can you talk a little bit about why Pinterest might be good for a product company?
So Pinterest is actually a search engine. It's not a social platform. So the three biggest search engines are YouTube, Pinterest, and Google. And so when people go on Pinterest, think about your own actions if you're on Pinterest. What are you doing? Oh, I'm looking up, how to have a 1-year-old's birthday party, or a cake for my kid's Batman party, or I'm redoing my bathroom and I want to know what my bathroom looks like. I'm traveling to Europe and I want to figure out how to pack, 10 outfits and go to Europe with it, right? We're searching for solutions to our problems. What I teach in our program is I teach SEO, but I say not in a techie way, because if I can do it and love it, then you can, because it's not my thing to kind of go down the tech route and like all the other stuff. So what I believe Pinterest can do is it's a backdoor to your product business. It's a backdoor to really any business. What we teach is we teach blogging without being bloggers. So I ranked in the top 1 to 3 on Google searches for fashion design startup, for fashion consultant, doing the exact strategy I guess I'll share with you right now. I'm like, it's in the course, but I'll share it right now because we're here. I flew all the way to Vegas for this. What I teach is like you look up keywords that are backdoors into your product. So if we're going to stick with the bra, thing here tonight, I have another student. She's in Nashville and she makes body inclusive lingerie. And so she could be doing a blog on how to find your perfect size of, let's say, like extended sizes or plus size bras or something like that, right? So she can find other search terms that people are looking for that are different than, bra companies, because we're going to compete with Soma and we're going to compete with Victoria's Secret and all these companies. Then you can create a blog that's got keywords in it based on searches that people are using. And the tool or the website that I like, and you get 3 free searches a day, is called Uber Suggest. It's by Neil Patel.
Uber
Suggest. Okay, and then he also has this other website called Answer the Public. So you can look up something, and then it'll actually tell you like all the ways somebody's asking that question. And so you'll start to you'll see search traffic, you'll see search terms, and you'll say, oh, people are actually looking for this. So at my company, at Designer Consulting Co-op, the whole homepage and all of my keywords used to be helping you build a brand from the ground up. A lot of people don't consider themselves a brand, especially startup fashion companies. So when I did this work, I realized people are how to start a clothing line. That was the keyword. That's what people were searching for. The second I switched that, I've never had to run a single ad, and I've had that company for like 16 years, and I get applications every week and I do nothing with it. So it's because what I did is I figured out what the terms were. I created blogs. I have only 5 blogs on that website, but they were to keywords that I needed. And then I created Pinterest posts that had different images and different ways in. So they might have captions, they might be visuals, they might be a little video, and then people would click on those and they would bring them back to the blog, and then within that blog, they would now discover my company. So the same is true for anybody with a product business. So I think the idea with Pinterest is, you can put stuff on there, but make sure that it links back. It's one, solving a problem that somebody has. That's what Pinterest is, searching to solve a problem. And then you want it to link back to whether it's linking back to the product, or the alternative way that I teach is like blogging for SEO. Again, you're not a blogger. You do not need to release something every week. It's like find 5 topics that your ideal customer is looking for, create 5 blogs on it, let it live. Don't even have blog on the top of your website. Like, don't distract anybody with that, and just consider it like this backdoor in.
Smart, right? Do you hear the words that are coming out of this woman's mouth? Like, it is so smart, because what she's also saying is, I think some of us, we get caught up in the hype of, I gotta do this and I gotta do that. And you don't have to do that. Like, there are things that are just always gonna be true about your business. And you don't have to put the word blog on the header. It's just the thing that is running in the background. So people are discovering your site and discovering your work. And that can be working for you over time. I like to say that content is your 24-hour salesperson, right? So like, as long as you're working through that, you're gonna end up finding a lot of value and end up probably getting customers that, aren't your friends or aren't your family. It's people that you're like, I don't even know this person. That's so wild. Like, every time someone buys something from me and I'm like, how did you even find me? It's doing work like that, doing things like that. So I'm curious to also learn, now that someone they got their website together, they got their Pinterest, their social together, and they're looking at their Shopify, or they're looking at however their cart, and they're seeing sales happen. And it looks like there's a huge, like, let's say you have a launch, looks like there's a huge, uptick, but then they start to see it go down, 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 down. How do you keep people, one, motivated to understand why that's happening and to at least have some type of plateau and not just all the way down? Like, how do people keep those sales up?
So I have a mastermind for people who are making 6 figures to 7 figures. So I actually, like, they get access to me on voice. So I was literally coaching on that this morning to somebody who was freaking out because last year her business did almost $1 million. This year so far she's on par to hit about 500,000 and she's freaking out. So I'm like, what's broken? So I'm a high fact finder. I'm always like, what's wrong? What's broken? What's changed? You know, is there something different on your platform, on your Shopify side? Is there something happening with deliverability of emails? You know, like, did ads all of a sudden tank? What's the deal, right? So you always want to look at the mechanics of it all and find the data. I like to pull apart the data. Numbers don't lie. So if you can track your numbers, that's probably like one of the best things you can do. Now, the other thing I want everyone to understand, especially in product, is that you stabilize your normal months, your slow months. They like to say the J's are slow months, so January, June, and July are slower months for people. That's why another genius, Jeff Bezos, created Christmas in July, because sales slump in July. People don't buy again, and so to get them to do it, he's like, okay, we're going to do a big sale. That's really ultimately what Christmas in July is. And then all of you, when this thing happens, can be participating in the exact same stuff. You can also do Christmas in July, like during Prime Day, same thing. Do the same thing. Every time you see these big companies doing these marketing things. But you stabilize in the slow months, and then you triple your efforts or quadruple your efforts in your busy months. Typically for product people, it's the last quarter. In fact, everything we do in quarter 1, 2, and 3, we can double that in Q4. So that's how many people have their wallets out. Sometimes we try and shove it, we're like, buy this month, and they're like, we're not in the mood, we just, January, they're done spending. That's why in January supplements, getting back to the gym, activewear, things like that are gonna make sense because it works for the season. So you really need to know your season, you need to know the buying seasons, you need to know your customer and what they want in that moment. I only want you to put things on sale to move dead stock, to move product. That's what sales are for. They're not to get customers. I have people that come to me all the time that are like, the only way I can make sales is through sales. I'm like, well, let's stop that, right? And let's start to talk to them about what they need. So what that means is that you don't have to feel like you're quantum leaping or doubling and multiplying and doing all these things every month, because it's like, it's too much brute force. Stabilize, know what you need to make every month, and then the months that you know are your big months, then turn that up. That's like, you make it rain and you've got the buckets to catch everybody. So if it's the holidays, we know we can sell more. I have somebody I know that does stuff for school, like back to school, and camp season is her best selling time, not the holidays. So she's gonna do more stuff at, maybe May, June, and then August, September. Like, it's a weird quarter for product people where she does really well. I came from swimwear. Swimwear did really well during the summer. It's like spring, summer, and then we would have a resort moment where it was like when people, snowbirds go to the Bahamas. So you just have to know your market and do not freak out. But if something does start to go off, look at your data, look at your numbers, and say, okay, is there something broken here that I can fix? And if not, then there's other tweaks that have to happen.
Very, very helpful. Okay, so if you have a product and you're, I'm really curious about when you have a product and you've been in the market for, let's say, 3 years, what should be different at that 3-year mark than when you started?
It's funny you say that, because somebody said something to me recently like, well, this is for a new business. I was like, no, I've worked with people that have had a company for 30 years and they're still only making $13,000 a year, right? So there's some people that have it as a side hustle. So I actually don't think that timing is always, it's like, when do you want to put both feet in and you're like, I'm all in on this. I've seen companies get to $1 million in their first year of business, but they do run ads. So that's like the big thing. Or you would have had something like massive happen, or an influencer or something, right? But actually, I have one of my clients, Paris Hilton, wore her stuff and it did nothing. So it doesn't always mean that something's gonna, jump. 3 years, though, I do believe the average business can get to $1 million in 3 years. I do believe it, but even if it's 6 figures, it's like whatever works for you and your lifestyle. What I really believe for our product people is, like, if you became an entrepreneur, there's a reason why. It was for time freedom and financial freedom. Right? We want to be here when we want to be here, and we want to go play the slot machines when we want to play them, and go, my husband's here and we're like, let's go to lunch in Vegas and then fly home this afternoon. I'm an entrepreneur. I get to do that. you know? And so you have to think about the lifestyle you want. I believe I blend. So I don't believe in balance. I call BS on balance, and I call BS on juggling, especially as a mom of 2 kids and doing all the things that I have to do as a mom and like having a huge business, is that it's about the blend. How do you blend it? And every day looks different. This morning we had a sitter come at 7 a.m. to take my kids to school, even though they were sick all weekend, right? And so it's like, this had to happen because we had work thing today. Today's blend looks different. Tomorrow I might be more in mom mode. This weekend might be full mom mode, or I might be in launch. So I think you need to think, what do you want to do with your life and what do you want it to look like? And then reverse engineer that backwards. So yes, I love to make money. Anyone else want to make money? Yeah. I love it. It's like, let's talk about it. Let's be audacious about our goals, especially women. Like, we can do more than we've ever been able to do in this world as women, making our own money and all the things. So, but I also get to be a mother, a wife, try and figure out how to take care of myself in between all that, right? And so I think in the 3 years, what I'd love for you all to think about is like, well, what do I want my life to look like? Am I working a full-time job and I want to get out of that, and I know I need to make a certain amount of money to get out of it? Or I'm all in today, and in 3 years, you actually just have to say it into the world. So if you've got a notebook or you want to whisper it to yourself right now, I know that for me back in 2019, we'd only made $90,000 in the Product Boss. And I was at an event like this, and I stood up with a mic actually, and they're like, what was your biggest takeaway from this event? And I said, I think we can be $1 million business. No idea how. No idea. We'd made $90,000 in the Product Boss as a company. The next year, during a global pandemic, in the first 10 months, we hit our first $1 million. Yes. And we were like 40-year-old women. We're supposed to be like, I don't know, hanging out our hats. You know, I don't know what we're supposed to do at 40.
Sleeping in your Jacqueline bra.
Sleeping in my Jacqueline bra, raising my babies. No. So I said it out into the world, and now I have a multi-million-dollar business. We were named Inc.'s fastest growing company. We're number 466 fastest growing company in the last year. It's crazy, right? It's absolutely insane. I just had to say it out loud. And now my goals are bigger than they were, right? I'm like, can we get to 8 figures? Like, what's next? And so I think you just want to think bigger and think what's next. But also, one thing that somebody reminded me of is like, why? Actually, I think it was my husband who was like, he's like, people want to make more money to spend more time with their family, you know? And like, it's like, but at what level? So I think the thing is like, then it's like profitability, and when do I want it to stop too? Do I want it to stop? You know, can I have a $5 million business and take home $100,000 a month? Let's just put that out there. Or do I need to have a $10 million business? You know, you get to choose what you want to do, because at every level of business, something breaks again. Your first 6 figures, it's going to break. 300,000, it's going to break. $1 million, it's going to break. 3 million, it's going to break. It breaks at all these different levels, and you're like, oh crap, I have to do this again. So you just have to think, what do you want for your lifestyle? And then I think that's a very long answer to your 3 years.
I'm all in my woo-woo right now. I'm like, guys, this is what we're going to do. Take out your notebook.
Channel
the woo. There's probably crystals somewhere in there.
There are. I saw them. I want to go buy some, cash and carry.
You know what I'm saying? But it brings up a really, really great point. We're all ambitious entrepreneurs. We're all at different levels of business, and it really is like owning the fact that you're doing this for a reason, and you want to see the fruit of that labor. And I think that when you do say it out loud and you do claim who you are and you do claim what you are really embodying, you know, you're not only doing that for yourself, but you're actually like training your subconscious, and that's what you see. I think the last talk we had a street crafter, and they said wake up and win, like, and we chanted that. It's like when we wake up, we win, and that's that energy that I think is really, really beautiful. So I'm glad you reminded me of that. Reminded all of us of that. Yeah.
So this is something that I've been speaking a lot about. So I'm just going to say, and especially for the women in the room, right? So we always talk about the glass ceiling that we want to crash there. I'm like, there's Oprah's glass ceiling. You know, it's up here. Then there's the glass ceiling when we work for somebody else. You know, there's like a level of that we're ever going to make as our salary. But the crazy thing is that our own glass ceilings are like those dingy basements that have like the low drop ceilings. You're like, this is a crawl space, right?
It's a popcorn ceiling.
It's something. It's just dingy and dirty in there, right? And so our own glass ceilings that we set for ourselves are so much lower than the one that like Oprah has. So I know, you know, people are like, we're going to crash that glass ceiling and whatever. I actually believe, let's just take the lid off. Let's just lift the lid. So as you're all thinking about what's possible, I want you to just think just think bigger. And you are the combination of the 5 people you hang around, right? Like the 5 people you hang around is like, so if you're hanging out with your kids all the time, like, you know, the moms on the playground, or like people who are thinking smaller, they cannot conceive the big dreams you have, we're going to still play small. So that's why I think podcasts have been so instrumental in my life. That's why my podcast has been so instrumental in other people's lives. We're just speaking bigger. We're surrounding ourselves with people that are thinking differently than what we're normally used to. So if you ever kind of feel stuck, just lift that lid and then, imagine a big blue, amazing sky, and then just say like, well, what's possible? And I'd rather you get curious than feel like it's not possible. Just get curious. Like maybe it is possible, and then you will figure your way out to that next part.
That is real. That is so, so real. And I'm really happy that you're talking about this because, versus crashing through, just taking the lid off and knowing that it's like, the spoon does not exist. If you guys remember that from The Matrix, like there is no spoon, and I feel like that's what it is. Like your thoughts become beliefs, your beliefs become actions, and like that's how we live.